Welcome to Gaia's Love, a podcast to guide you home into your human journey here on Earth. My name is Vivienne Gerard, and it is my delight to co-create with Gaia and share our messages from Source in this now moment. Here we go. Episode 394. It is Wednesday here in Cincinnati. It's a little cloudy. We've had some patches of rain and sunshine, and everything is just blooming. It's gorgeous in the Midwest right now. Today is, the 14th of July, and I was just reading an article from Astro Butterfly about tomorrow when Chiron goes retrograde. So I thought I would share a few nuggets from my perspective about this guy named Chiron in astrology and the havoc that he can wreak. Is that the word? Havoc he can wreak on people's lives when we are unaware that that's what we're moving through. So I thought it might be helpful to hear a couple words of wisdom, perhaps. And then some nuggets that may guide you over the next few months as we move through retrograde. Chiron retrograde goes, what did she say? July 15th through December 20th. And I will put a link in the description for the article for Astro Butterfly. If you are not currently following an astrologer or a few astrologers, it's time. It's really time. They are so wise. They are like the weather forecasters of the universe, and they give us these pathways of information so that when we get up one day and we feel completely different than we did the day before, and there's nothing that has changed in our life that would warrant that kind of a shift as star runs, when there's no reason that we should be feeling that significantly different, astrologers can say it's okay. While you were asleep, everything in the universe shifted and went into a different position. And so suddenly there's this whole new energy that's come in, and it makes us feel less wobbly or crazy or unhinged or whatever words you want to use. It's just the stars are doing their thing and the planets are moving, and humanity kind of just follows the pull of all of that. So when you have a good astrologer, I have several that I love connecting with that are so good. I've talked about them before, so you can go back through my videos and see. But Astro Butterfly just has a lot of valuable content that she makes very easily accessible for those of us who are what I call a beginner. I definitely am not. I'm not someone who could sit down and read your chart or even read my own chart, but I absorb the wisdom of others. Okay, so I'm looking at some notes here. Chiron retrograde. Let me tell you about my little guy Chiron, big guy Chiron. So I turned 50 in January, and sometime must have been like the end of last year, one of my beautiful friends, who's an astrologer, one of my guides, Nicole, we were doing just a chat, I think, about something, I don't remember, but she said, you know, you're in your Chiron return. And I was like, no. What am I in? What is this Chiron return? And she started to tell me about this thing that happens when you're going towards 50, where I'm going to use my words and I hope I don't say it incorrectly. So Chiron has a 50-year rotation, and in our lifetimes, most of us only reach 50. We don't get a second turn around to reach 100. So you only get one Chiron return in your life on average, since most people don't live to 100. I don't think I'm going to be living to 100. I think I'll be gone before that. So this was my one and only. And basically, as it comes around, everything that has happened to you from birth that you haven't quite resolved, come to peace with, understood about yourself, is going to come up so that you can do that. Which, when you're in the middle of doing that without knowing that's what you're doing, I felt irrational, childlike, selfish, needy, abandoned. I mean, everything that I hadn't cleared. Not that I'm sitting here with everything cleared. I'm closer, but I'm certainly not there. But everything that you haven't kind of looked at is going to come up so that you can look at it. And it did. And it had started, and I'd been in it for about a year. Apparently, my time for Chiron return is when something's going on with the planet. So it's like extended. It's not like you can just do it in a year or 2 years. It's going to go for a while. All of those who are turning 50 right now are going through the same thing. So for those of my fellow graduates from high school, we're all going through this together. It's something. So Chiron return also is in one of your houses. And if you can have an astrologer, I would suggest, maybe I'll put Nicole, I'll make a note. I'll put Nicole's contact in there for you so that you can reach out to her if you want. She does beautiful readings, beautiful readings. And she can look just at your Chiron return. So basically Chiron is in a certain house, and then that shows where you're going to feel it the most. So she showed me what that was, and I was able to look at my reality and go, oh my God, this is what's been happening for the last year. How did I not know this? Because it would have made my life so much simpler if I could have just said, oh, I'm going through a Chiron return. Excuse me for my absolute irrational behavior. I'm just clearing stuff from my childhood. And you happen to be the player who's going to be going through that with me. It would have just simplified so much in my life. And yet, apparently my soul did not want me to have that information at that time. So I got it halfway through my Chiron return. But it lasts for a while, anywhere from a year to 2 years. And for our group, for some reason, I think it's lasting longer than that. And each piece that you become aware of and that you look at and, accept and find some space to be with it in yourself, then it releases. And so you don't have to keep re-wounding yourself or re-traumatizing yourself with the same pattern. So the more that you are aware of it, and the more you give yourself grace and compassion, which is what last week's podcast was about, when you give yourself that grace and compassion, it's like you can move through it and not re-wound that original wound. I learned to accept that I do have these places where I've felt abandoned, and that is a real true story. And so when I can accept that that's a part of my story, and also I'm not abandoning myself, the people around me are not abandoning me, the life I'm living is not one that's going to create abandonment. As I heal all of that, abandonment isn't a trigger like it used to be. And so I really did so much in that initial year or 2 years through the Chiron return. So when I saw that the Chiron is going retrograde right now, I'm like, oh, awesome. What else are we going to clear? What else is going to come up that I'm ready to accept and release? There isn't this dread that I used to feel. Like when my friend first told me about Chiron, anytime Chiron came up, I'm like, oh, I'm in my Chiron return. And there was this whole sense of like, poor me. Can I survive? Can I survive the experience? Am I going to get through the Chiron return? And now I'm here. I'm like, I have, and I am. And everything that's coming towards me is giving me more grace, more information about myself, more understanding of how I've been playing this human journey so that I can play it in a way that serves me better, that's more enjoyable. So Chiron return, some people call it a midlife crisis. I think that's actually very true. I think if people who were experiencing a midlife crisis were given the information about astrology and someone said, oh, midlife crisis person, you're actually going through a Chiron return. Here's what you're maybe trying to heal and clear in yourself. I think that'd be so helpful for people having midlife crises. So maybe if you're watching this and any of this is resonating with the 50-year-olds that you know in your life, maybe send it to them. And then they're going to be like, oh, it's not just me. Other people have gone through this, and it's just a process. It's just a healing process. So that's for the 50-year-olds. For all humans alive at this time on planet Earth, there is a retrograde. Yes. Yeah, we have been direct. We're going through retrograde Chiron for 6 months, and then we're going to go back to direct. It also matters what sign it's in, so you can do some research on your own. We're going to be in Aries for this particular period. here's what Astro Butterfly said, and I really love the way that she described it in the article. So I encourage you to read the whole article and see which parts of it resonate with you. She said, with Chiron, and maybe it's not just about Chiron, it's about your own journey as a human and a soul and trying to, learn whatever you came here to learn. When we have parts of ourselves that we don't like, so for me, that part about being needy and the fear of being abandoned, when there's this part of myself that I'm like, I don't want to be needy, I don't want to be someone who's afraid of being abandoned, so I'm going to shush that voice within myself, I'm going to put that part of me in the corner and not deal with that and just pretend that I don't actually have those feelings. We start to separate. She uses the word disassociate. We start to kind of create these compartments of how we see ourselves. And we don't really want anyone to see that shadowy, needy. I didn't want anyone to see that shadowy, needy part of me. And so I would act like everything's fine. But down here is this little part of me that's a little girl going, are you going to leave me too? Are you going to abandon me too? Deep, deep fear, like from childhood fear. And so as we separate those parts of ourselves, we start to not like, sometimes even say hate that part of ourselves that we've disassociated from. Well, you've got this divide now. And so it creates this internal friction and argument and chaos, right? It feels like chaos because this is a real need, a real fear. We're avoiding it. We're in this facade, but there's this thing that's happening down here. And so it's all this conflict that makes the human journey so much harder. So what she describes so beautifully in the article is, when we have Chiron direct, we are asking for people outside of ourselves to help heal us, to give us the answers, give us the medicine, give us the tonic, tell us the way to be better. And that works for a lot of people. That's a great process. But there's this internal melding and merging that needs to happen that sometimes no one from the outside can give you the answer to. It's an internal thing. And so what she suggests is, the only way to really heal yourself fully is to accept all the parts of yourself, to weave these needy, not so awesome parts that I don't like about myself in with the pretty cool, awesome parts that I like about myself, and merge them and accept all of it. So it's not compartmentalized. It's just, this is me. And sometimes I'm a little needy. And also that neediness is here now. It's not disassociated over on the corner. It's over here. And when I feel that that's part of who I am and that feeling comes up, I can now express that feeling because it's just part of who I am, instead of shushing it, down over here in the corner. So she used this phrase, which I love so much. She said, you become your own medicine when you align with Chiron in the integration of all of yourself. This time period of Chiron retrograde, we have this opportunity to sit within ourselves and then become healed and whole within ourselves, become our own medicine. I love that phrase. And she describes really owning all the parts of ourselves, like not, I don't want to use the word disassociate because that almost sounds like a mental disassociation, and it doesn't feel like that. It's more like the feeling. It's like we have a feeling come up and we stuff it back down or we push it away, and the feeling wants to come back up again and we push it back away again. And the opportunity for the greatest healing for us in this 6-month Chiron retrograde time, or 5-month Chiron retrograde, is when that feeling comes up, when that emotion is starting to move, allow it to be felt. When pain comes forward and we don't want to be with the pain, and we normally would say, I'm going to go be distracted, go do something else. I'm not going to sit with this pain that wants to be felt. Instead of running or getting busy or talking, what if we just sit and feel the pain? Like what would happen? I think many times we think we're going to be tsunamied by this pain, and we won't be able to get our heads above water again. And it felt that way many times to me. I mean, that was a real feeling, like I hurt so much. I shouldn't smile when I say that, because it didn't feel like that when I was in it. It hurt. It hurt to feel what I was feeling. I felt so wounded, so raw in the not being wanted, you know, and that's a child feeling. That's an old feeling that I was able to just sit with and sit with. And sometimes I would talk to someone, and sometimes I would have a healing session, and I would go outside and gather information. I'd come back in and sit with it some more. And slowly what happened for me is I could see the patterns, I could see the cycles, I could see how, certain words went right to my heart. Certain actions were bringing up feelings from when I was a little girl. Like there were ways I could start to see how it all weaves together. And then from that place, I could look at my life story, which when you turn 50, when we all turn 50, I think that sort of review process is so normal and so healthy. I looked back at my life and I'm like, wow, wow, have I been through some stuff? And wow, what I've learned, who I've become, how much I like myself, how much I enjoy the dynamic ebb and flow of my life, and the people who are continually coming in and out and teaching me and helping me, clarify things about myself, and express new sides of myself, and bring forward gifts that I didn't even know I had inside of me. All of these life experiences have formed this human who I am at 50, who I really like. That's a good feeling. That's an amazing process to be able to look back at my life and witness. And I think sometimes when we do that, we can get caught in the review of of certain moments where we weren't at our best. That was that is an ongoing thing for me. I'm still working on that one. I'm still working on that one, especially with children. I was just saying that to one of my good friends. I was like, God, oh, I could have done it so much better if I had known more. It would have just been totally different for my children. And like I was so ignorant in some areas. And she was just laughing with me saying, yeah, I know, I get it, right? We all have that feeling, I believe, as parents. Like, if only I had done it this way, or said this thing, or been, healthier, maybe emotionally or mentally at that time, it wouldn't have created trauma in my children's lives. I think we can get hung up on certain moments where perhaps our choices weren't of the highest caliber. And and so what I loved about last week's podcast about the new moon in Cancer, and it's the sense of, be curious as we explore our past journey, have compassion for the person that we each were along the way, which was not perfect. Pretty sure all of us would say that. I was absolutely not perfect. And when I have compassion for the choices that I made at certain moments where I was doing the best I could, and with the circumstances around me, I was making the best decisions for my ability and my awareness at the time. When we all can start doing that and then land firmly here and accept all of ourselves, right? This is Chiron retrograde. Accept all the parts of me, even the ones where I was not my best. Now what? Now what happens? This is where I'm going to read you the most beautiful lyrics. It's so exciting. A friend of mine, Matt, has this awesome playlist, and this song showed up in the playlist. I don't think I've ever heard it before because I don't remember it. Or if I've heard it, I mean, I missed it. My vibration wasn't ready for it. I just totally missed it. So it's a song called, it's a chant, Ajay Alai by Aaron Breach. I'll put the link to that also in the description. It's so beautiful. So it's a mantra. I'll read you what the information says, and then I'm going to read you what the words are. It's so cool. Ajayalai is a magnificent mantra from Jap Sahib, accepted by all religions, a hymn in praise of the Creator, who is metaphysical, eternal, unborn, uncreated, self-existent, and without form, feature, and color. It was written by the warrior saint Guru Gobind Singh in Gurmukhi. He sang it in tremendous gratitude to the divine, and he taught about self-worth and grace. The nod of mantra arouses the soul and self-being. When you are endangered or feeling weak, the mantra uplifts the soul and brings grace and greatness. It will also give you the ability and power that whatever you say must happen. So I would love for you to listen to it so you can hear the lyrical sounds of the words. I've said this so many times in my group spaces, but words in English are so limited, and they don't have the fluidity and the magic that I feel in some of the other languages. And these sounds are so beautiful when you hear them sung by Aaron Breach. It's amazing. So please take the time and listen to the song. I believe you'll get hooked on it. I've had it just playing constantly for 2 days now. It's so good. So here's what the meaning of the words are. And I'm just going to read you the English meaning. And these are the words we're chanting in the song over and over for 11 minutes. You just keep chanting these words in I think it's Sanskrit in the other language. Okay, here's what they are. Invincible, indestructible, fearless, unchanging, unformed, unborn, imperishable, etheric, unbreakable, impenetrable, unseen, unaffected, undying, merciful, indestructible, uncostumed, nameless, desireless, unfathomable, incorruptible, unmastered, destroyer, beyond birth, beyond silence, beyond love, beyond color, beyond form, beyond shape, beyond karma, beyond doubt, unconquerable, indescribable. Haji Ale, isn't that gorgeous? When you hear these sounds just repeated over and over, and then the music that goes along with it, there's this sense I feel of it doesn't matter what life brings. It doesn't matter who says what or who shows up or who doesn't, or the crazy reality of the world, whatever. It doesn't matter. There is this essence, this soul, this energy, a consciousness inside each one of us that is all of those things, beyond birth, beyond silence, beyond karma, beyond doubt, beyond love, beyond color, beyond form, beyond shape. Like, are you kidding? Who writes these words? And these are, again, like I talked about, I think it was last week or the week before, these ancient sounds that are just repeated over and over and over through generations. And then they become stronger the more that they're chanted. And so we sit here in 2021 receiving the ages of chanting coming through those sounds into our being. Like, bring it on, Chiron retrograde. Let's accept every single part of ourselves with that kind of support. Unconquerable, indescribable, invincible, indestructible. That's what sits at the core of us. So really, what is there for us to be afraid of in this life? Things will come up. We'll look at it. We'll feel it. We'll learn from it. We'll bring it into ourselves. We'll accept all the parts of ourselves. Straighten our backs, lift our shoulders, and let's keep going. Bring on the next thing. Through all of that, this heart chakra staying open, think that's the key. So if you are sitting in your Chiron retrograde arriving and you have a sense of like, oh boy, I don't know what's coming, chant this chant. I'll put the link in. Read the article from Esther Butterfly. She's got amazing wisdom. And then I have two meditations that I'll put, two free meditations that I'll put in the description that'll kind of get you in that movement of energy where you can see what's actually happening inside of yourself. So one is called Purifying Breath. I made it on my birthday, I think 5 years ago, maybe longer. And it's a process I guide you through of just breathing. And as you breathe up through your body, we tap into an emotion like fear or anger or grief. And that emotion can come out, and then you breathe in a purified breath and you exhale the toxicity. And it's a long 40-minute meditation process that gets you breathing this energy and purifying your own system. And then the other one is from my light medicine. It's a free one I've offered to everyone called Dispelling Fear. And so we take a look at like, what are you afraid of? What is it that sits in your reality or inside of yourself that you're afraid of looking at? And how do we bring it into the light and then release the fear, transmute the fear into something that serves you more? So both of those can be great resources for you as you're moving through this time. And then always I offer healing sessions and, you know, my eyes looking at you and seeing what is there that's happening. So if you are needing support to get you into that place of finding acceptance, you know, I'm always available for that. You can find that on, I'll put the link to that below also for a healing session. Okay, my loves, here we go. Here we go, here we go. Have a beautiful weekend.
Thank you for tuning into this vibration of pure love. I invite you to join me in Viv's Energy Gym, where we are building a community of leaders in this new earth, exploring infinite embodiment, the soul aligning harmoniously with the human body and mind. You can learn more at mysouljourney.com. Let's take this message of Gaia's love out into all of our relationships and communities today. So much love from my heart to yours.